Camera number 450 is the Olympus IS500, a bridge camera from the early 2000s. In fact, it's one of the last of the IS series that Olympus produced of bridge cameras. Bridge cameras being the bridge between a fixed focal length point and shoot and a full SLR where you can change your lenses. The camera comes, if we just turn it around, with a full complement of focal lengths from 28 to 120 millimeters. And I'm intrigued to use the camera. I've done a couple of these cameras and been really impressed. The Olympus glass is good, and so this particular camera, as I say, is 28 millimeters, but at f4.9, and at 120 millimeters it's f6.8. 52 millimeter filter around the lens, which is very useful because then you can add additional filters or close-up filters if you want. It does have a close-up macro mode, but we'll come back to that in a few moments. So the camera requires batteries to operate, and the batteries are housed in this compartment here, which we open by sliding the door latch, and then two CR123A batteries power the camera, and then we just simply close that and lock the door, and then the film will be advanced. Even though the camera is off, we unlatch the camera door by the film door latch here, and then we can place our film into our camera. Sorry, the light's not brilliant here. There we go. And it has DX coding, no provision for changing that. So we put our film canister here, put it over, and we put it quite a way into the other side, and then close our door, and you'll hear the film trying to be advanced. But then it advances the film, and then at the end of the film the camera will then rewind the film back into your canister, which is very useful. It does have provision to mid-roll rewind, which is here in this button on the base. And then while we're on the base, we have the other suspect, the tripod mount. Camera is predominantly a plastic construction or a composite. So let's talk about turning the camera on and going through some of its features. To turn the camera on, we have the rotating dial here, which has three positions: off, on, and then we can pop up our flash. We can have control over the flash. We'll come back to that when we consider the back of the camera, which we'll do now, in fact. Dominated by this control panel here, and this is where the business is, if you like, the different creative program modes and the various functions regarding flash and exposure compensation, etc. Looking through the viewfinder, on the right hand side there are just three LEDs. The top one is your flash, the middle one shows autofocus has been acquired, and then the bottom one is the exposure compensation if you've dialed in some of that. On the other side of the viewfinder we have a diopter, so we can adjust to our particular eyesight. Coming down to the screen here, basically have a series of dials that you press and you rotate through a series of options. So the top one is your flash one. Sorry, I keep cutting out the light. And so we can, on this particular mode, which if we press the middle button here, we'll put it into auto program, full auto program mode. The camera will decide whether it needs to pop up the flash, and will tell you in the viewfinder with a flashing icon. And then so we can cycle through that with the top button, full flash, or a red eye reduction, or fill-in flash. And if we come down the next one, we can choose self-timer, and then we can do a remote. The camera did come with a remote. I've got it here, the Olympus RC200, and we can control the camera, but we have to set it into this mode of remote control, and then if we press the button again we have a macro mode, and that's approximately 2 feet is the closest, and then you zoom your lens in and out to increase the magnification. So looking at the profile of the camera at 28, that's what it is at 28, and then we can zoom it out all the way to 120, and that's the profile of the camera at 120, and then you can just select any range in between, just simply rocking button. Okay, so that's macro mode, and then if we come down to the last one, we've got our exposure compensation, and we can go from, I think it's +1 to -1. Now once we've activated, if we can there, exposure compensation, we have to use the rocker button here on the right to actually change that, and then we can go from -2 to +2. So full program, full auto mode, point and shoot, camera does makes all the decisions for us. But we have some creative control. We have landscape mode at the top here. We then have portrait mode, which will typically choose a shallow depth of field or view so that our person stands out. We have a sports mode, and then finally we have a nighttime mode, which we can use. If we want to change from auto mode, we can go to our top button here on the right and press it once for aperture priority mode, and then what that means is we can select our aperture by rotating or moving the dial, and then the camera will choose the correct shutter speed. If we press the Alt again, or this middle button again, we get long time, and we can choose from, again we use the rocker button, we can go from 1 second, 2 seconds, 8, 30, 60. 60 seconds is the maximum, and 1 second is the shortest period. So if we're doing astrophotography or nighttime photography, we can use that mode. Set it back to program mode. If at any stage we want to go back to full program mode, we just simply press the middle button, and that will take us back to that mode. So there's all the functions. You obviously have various different functions depending on what mode you're shooting. At the top, the only one other button apart from the our shutter button is we can choose spot metering, and then that will be the central portion of the viewfinder. We can activate that and change that back again. I think on the liquid crystal display, if I zoom in, you'll see that toggling on and off. There we go. So that's pretty much all the camera's functions and features. So all that remains for me to do now is to go out and take some photographs, which I will do, and they will now follow. So this is camera number 450, the Olympus IS500.